recording! We're recording! I can't believe it! This is so exciting! So exciting indeed. Well, let's see what we've got here. For this shot, they're at the water's edge. And Mel contemplates it for a moment and then steels himself to the task at hand, and he's about to be animated up and out of frame. Which point Tianara's eyes, as you can see if you look closely, are darting back and forth. She's kind of pondering what he's going to do. He takes off out of frame, and then her eyes follow out like this. The camera will actually then push into her, and then it'll cut to this shot that I did yesterday where she'll see him trying to make his way across the dangerous river situation, at which point she will steel her own resolve toward the task of facing the music, as they say. So I want to change one thing on this particular frame. At this point, these frames are flattened. They're all the layers have been baked together, so there's no real harm in just kind of, honestly, let's just rethink this expression. Okay. Let's just rethink this expression. I think what she would do is she'd be like, something like that. I think that's what she would do. Like, I'm gonna do this. Okay, so the only thing that's kind of objectionable here, hate to have to do this, but I'm gonna have to grab a hold of this little piece of her eye. Let me see what happens if we put it like way over here. No, that doesn't work. We're going to have to change the pupil position as well. Okay. That went actually surprisingly well. Now I've got to just kind of paint this in and get the shadow color on her eye. So yeah, we're definitely kludging it a bit as far as the paint work. But sometimes it's better to work in layers, and sometimes it's better to flatten things out. It just depends. But yeah, that's better. Okay. And I'm actually going to tweak this a little bit as well. Stretch that out. Yeah, there we go. Now things are looking good. Looking good. Cool beans. Okay, so really, what we probably should do is render these as image sequences, methinks, and bring them into OpenTunes, probably. Not necessarily, though. I'm not going to lock into that at this point. Let's go ahead and save this. One thing that really surprised me actually yesterday was that the transform layers, or transform masks, and the filter masks in Krita, one of the benefits they give you is if you have an animated sequence, they'll apply the filter or the transform to the entire sequence. The problem is it's extremely buggy, crashes like a lot, and it's just, not anywhere near as cool as what it seems like it's going to be when you first discover that you can do it. Well, the scene I did yesterday has like, gosh, which one is this? Let me check and see which shot this was. Because this shot, 0767, this shot had something like, I don't know, let's count the layers. I mean, it had a lot of layers, and it was having to regenerate the cache for animation like a lot. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 layers. And Watch how it'll crash now. But yesterday, I mean, I reran this a bazillion times, and it just wouldn't crash, which is really unusual for Krita. So I think what I found is if you kind of do it the old school Photoshop way, and just deal with layers, if you want to do masking, you can do masking, but you don't need a mask. You can just use a layer that is black and white that does, like in multiply mode or erase mode or whatever it is that you need. There's always a way to do it with layers, including animation, if you will. I mean, if you take a bunch of still frames and stick them in a folder, you can do your toggling back and forth and checking keys with layers the way you have to do it in like Clip Studio, right? I mean, that's how they do it. I think that's how Photoshop does it too, actually. Anywho, let's do a background. Boom, boom, boom. What is this background going to be? Well, first of all, let's put it in a group. So there we go. And I'm saving. I always save at every step lately. That's kind of what I've arrived at. So let's start out by going, let's just fill this with black. Okay. And now let's give it a gradient. All right. So we're going to make like this. And normally the default is to go from color to transparent. So, okay. Actually, that's not too bad. With the caveat that I guess it'd be in tool options. Yes, I don't want a radial, I want a linear. So now I'm going to turn the opacity down and do a bigger one that's more bigger. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, we're going to actually see if we can make this a really gorgeous background image without much work. And the way I'm going to do it is, let me see. Yep, that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go here. I've got it in another layer, so I'm just going to go like this. And I'm going to assume that a silhouette situation actually kind of sort of makes sense. Whoops. Okay, I said yesterday I'm going to start using these Krita, these texture brushes a little more often. Okay. And that actually is not too horrible. All right, I want to turn him back off though. So, okay, so now the question is, should I put any element of color in them at all? And the answer is, I don't know. So let's go with an obnoxious green. All right, like that. Okay, let's just do that. As if we're catching some of the moonlight, right? Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to group these two together and then do inherit all alpha so that the second layer is forced to clamp to the underlying layer. And then what we can do is we can just dial this in. I'm going to do as I often do. I'm going to try overlay mode and see if that doesn't really do the trick. I'm going to just play here with a couple of blending modes. Usually, yeah, screener addition when you're dealing with just on top of black pretty much doesn't give you much of a difference compared to normal. So let's just go like this. And then what we'll do is we'll go to a dark color like that. Let's turn the opacity down. Just ease that in over top of it. So what we're doing, the idea is that the leaves and the trees are catching just a little bit of that moonlight in the background. Okay, and now I'm going to hit Control E and merge the group. And that's that. Okay, so and then I think I'll go ahead and erase back into it. Let's crank the opacity and put it in erase mode. Just get rid of that, some of those erroneous black marks that I actually don't particularly like. And we'll give it a little bit more noise, if you will. A little bit of moonlight peeking through here and there. Cool, that's that. All right. So again, simple, simple, simple. All right, let's keep going with the background thing. All right, up here we're going to want to, okay, let's put in some stars. Whoa, okay, that's what the stars do. Okay, and then I'll just use my star brush here in the middle to get the beginnings of what might kind of sort of be a glowing bit around the moon. Okay, and actually, come to think of it, bad idea. I want to let these stars stand on their own, so let's go stars. In fact, I'm going to merge them down. I'm going to be bold and actually merge all those three together. I like them. Let's just go with it. Okay, so yeah, the moon's going to be, hello, here. And okay, I think what I'll do is do this, and then in additive mode, okay, that works. That's the moon. And then the question is, do we want any kind of, actually, what if we go like this? And let's do a blur. Blur, yeah, let's do that. Okay. So again, I'm feeling bold. I'm going to bake that down. And now what I'm going to do is add some clouds. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep using my little texture brushes. This is the one that's sort of cloud-like. We're doing it on a layer. And then what we'll do is we'll grab this mid-tone. Now this is going to be interesting. By grabbing this mid-tone color, what it's going to do is it's going to create a shadow-ish in front of the moon, but a highlight outside of the moon, which is kind of cool. Sorry, I was trying to shrink my brush there. Okay, so that's a little aggressive. So now what I'm going to do is put it in erase mode, and go down about half on the opacity, and sneak some of the bottom back out of these clouds. Like that. And then, in addition, we're going to do two more steps. One is to stretch them out. Yep, something like that. And then I'm going to hit my filter. I just did a blur filter. I'm going to do the blur filter again. And now what we're going to do is turn them all the way down. It's just like doing EQ. You want to A-B against what you had before. So you put them in, take them out, put them in. Yep, that'll work. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, this will be interesting, is duplicate the layer. And I better save my work, just in case something decides to blow up. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is in my tool options, I'm going to flip it. And this layer I'm going to go ahead and stretch out quite a lot. Yep, kind of like that. And we're going to turn that way down. Okay, and this layer feels like it's a little bit too bold as well. Okay, so now I'm going to merge the two cloud layers together, but I'm going to leave those. Okay, and we'll call this group background. Okay, so now the question is, do we need to bring this into OpenTunes? My sense right now is that we really don't need to. Let's go ahead and play with timing. So let's take TNR out, and let's get our timing back up to 24 frames a second. Boom. And he's going to look down, look up, go. Okay. So I think 2448. So I'm going to make a dupe here. 24. We're just going to do this on 1 second a piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, shift, just to see. Yep, that'll work. That will work. Okay, so now let's fix it. Go like this. B key. I need to get back to some normal-ish brushes. How about my ink brush? Ink brush, ink pen, whatever you want to say. So it's just a real quick edit of what we had before. Wango Mango. Make our brush big. Paint it in. So this is the way I actually like working the best. Everything moves quickly. Some stuff you're sort of hand tooling it the slow way, it seems, but in practice you find out it's actually the fast way. Save. Okay, and now we've got to go. I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm going to give it 120. Save this, and let's hit the old go button. Okay, all right, this is fine, but it introduces a little problem. So let's go here. Okay, we need to do a little surgery here. Wish I didn't have to, but I do. So we might as well just face the music and have fun. I'm going to turn on the onion skinning. Just so I could see the... Okay, that's a little more credible change. The change we had was just too strong. So now how do we fix that? We just go like this. Just paint it in. This is why I say I enjoy this, is because I'm working fairly flat. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go shift drag. I'm working fairly flat. All in one layer. I find that when I just modify something that's, not in all cases, but in many cases, when you just modify something that's already sort of looking good and complete, it goes quickly and you can really get a visceral, you just do it, you just go, you know. Save that, hit the W button. So trying to hit the go button, and OpenTune or Krita is being stupid. Okay. One. Okay, let me show you what happens. Let me show you. This is one of these examples that shows you that I'm not insane. Okay, in the animation window, I changed the number of frames to 120. The problem is that at this point, that little window right there that has the number in it will not let go of the focus. So if I hit the play button, okay, but I hit stop, I hit the space bar, you can see what's happening is it's actually just putting spaces in that window. How you actually get the program to let go of the focus is truly a mystery. Truly, truly a mystery. Click somewhere else. Okay, I guess that's what you need to do. Let me see if I click in there and then click here. Okay, that seems to do the trick. So that's what I'll do from now on. I'll just click somewhere outside of the drawing area. Okay, now the question becomes, do we want a transitional frame? I'm going to just give it a possible maybe. And the way we're going to do that, it's probably not going to work, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm just going to take a little bit of plastic tool. Go like this, just to see how it feels. Okay, now if you were going to do it, this is the whole point of this, because obviously his pupils are being squished. We're just trying to give ourselves a transition. And I'm cheating now by putting it on 2s. Feels like 2. I'm going to put this downstream for a moment. I think the solution actually is to take this change and be more extreme with it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is move this down a little bit. So it's still moving up, but not as much. So we'll take our brush and just patch that. Okay, so there's fix number 1. And actually, if we're going to do this, maybe we should do it in the opposite direction. Let's just try. Can't hurt to try. Yep. Now I'm curious about one thing. I just want to see what this feels like. I'm going to let this flow a bit. Let me see if it goes from there. Okay, that doesn't really make sense. I'm just looking at that expression. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, let's get rid of this one, but let's use this. Okay, and let's go ahead and move this way downstream. So I like this. He goes, Yep, I like it. I think it sells the attitude better than what I had before. I like it muy mucho. Well, this is one of the issues with Krita, though, is the timeline doesn't have that much real estate to it. So, thinking I would like to move this slightly further downstream. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Well, we're letting her breathe. Boom. So at 120 is when we're going to start going bananas here on the animation tool. So how long would this take? He'd go boom. So it'd be a quarter of a second. What's that, baby? Okay, see you in a bit. Alright. So what I'm going to do, this is risky. Obviously with the animate tool and OpenTunes it would be way, 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 way easier. But let's see. If we were going to do a scale as a percentage, %. Okay, let's go with that. Now we're going to do the same thing. Lock it. Okay, that's not too bad. That's actually kind of manageable. It annoys me that you have to reset it every time, but there's worse things that could happen. So okay, I'm gonna keep going. I have to make this quite a bit longer though. Don't usually have animated sequences that are this long, but I mean it feels good, so let's go with it. It's still in scale mode. 110, boy. Oh, I see. Every time I click the tool, it loses its setting. I wish it would remember it, or what would be even better is if the transform tool was actually re-implemented in Krita as a filter. Okay, actually let's make this one, let's do this again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an easing bit. So this is going to now be 125. Okay, except it's not. 125. Z, and now it's going insane. Okay. So you need to click the length thing and then go 125 and nothing happened. Okay, stop everything. Let's just freeze for a minute. Okay, this is I almost ranted about this yesterday because you had the same issue in OpenTunes, and I'm pretty much convinced it's because of Qt, the underlying framework that's used to that the program's built on. Because I have yet to see a Qt graphical application that doesn't have these kinds of just absolutely ridiculous issues. So you have to do everything in exactly the right order. It doesn't work. Click, link, type. Click, link, type. Click, link, .125, and I'm going to actually apply the blur filter again. And now this time I'm just going to okay, well that didn't work. I guess I want to go click, Shift, Alt. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, actually we'll do it one more time. And then we'll double check our pacing here. Okay. Scaling, scaling, scaling. Okay. So now all I want to do is just check the timing of the action. We're not done with it, but okay. So it's actually way too slow. So I'm going to take out half my keyframes. Let's just okay. Let's take this one and let's see how that feels. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, this is too small of a change, so I'm going to go here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to do a filter. And the filter is going to be an adjustment, but it's going to be a color adjustment, or I'm sorry, it's going to be a cross-channel adjustment. Yeah, we'll do that. So let's go down 25%. That's dealing with saturation though. Sorry. I want to deal with lightness. Okay, so let's reset it. Reset it. Okay, well, thanks, Krita. Reset doesn't actually do anything, turns out. You have to marvel. You just ask yourself, okay, so the developers never actually ever tested this plugin to see if it actually does anything. Okay. Okay. Wow. That's hilarious. Okay, so I'll show you here why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to just lower the brightness a little bit. And unfortunately, I actually have to let that go because it wasn't supposed to happen on the first one. The second one, we'll get it here. Just hang tough with me here, folks. We're doing lightness, and we're going to lower it about 25%. Okay, and the reason we're doing that is so we can go here and apply it twice. Here, apply it 3 times. And then, boom, he's gone. So now what it should look like is he moves into frame and just disappears. Okay, and that'll work. Then we put TNR in the background, watching all this take place. Okay, the only other thing I was thinking, let me see here. Let's do a little test. Let's insert another layer up here. Okay, and I'm gonna actually take these keys right here, and I'm going to control drag them up to here, just so that I have a layer that's got just this last sequence of Mel in it that I can experiment with. And if something goes wrong, well, I'm no worse off. What I was thinking, actually, and let's get both of these keys in here, because the first one is my kind of basis to work with. And if it works, I'll just copy them over the others. Okay, so my thought was, right here, he would have a bit of a bending action, you might say. Okay, so I'm going to see what this does. Nope, that's wrong. It seems like invariably this has got to be reversed from whatever I'm thinking I want it to be. Okay. Okay, let's go with that for a moment. Okay, and here obviously we got a little problem. Okay. All right. So now the question is, well, like I said, this is where apparently apparently it can't go any bigger. I did not know that. So, yeah, this is going to be a bit of a joke. But I don't know, maybe we can actually do it this way. Since he's big enough that he's kind of going off screen, I guess that kind of gives us some latitude here in a major way. Well, I hope the irony of that isn't lost on you. So it turns out that Krita retains the image what am I trying to say? Outside of the drawing area, it retains image data, but when you apply a filter, it doesn't actually apply it to the whole layer that it's keeping track of. It only applies it to the visible area, so that's why you're seeing, like right here, the filter never was applied to that. It's the kind of thing that I find to be so stunningly dumb, I can't believe it, but it's completely normal. So in this case, I have to come up with some sort of kludge to be able to, I mean, look at that. So all the filtering turned out to be worthless. It's crazy, man. Well, fortunately, I got away with a little bit of a kludge here that kind of sort of worked, and I can kind of sort of make it work this way, maybe. Just like that. Utterly obnoxious as it is, at least it lets me fake the result that I was trying to get. Without a doubt, folks, those of you who are currently screaming at your screens, why don't you just bring it into OpenTunes and use the plastic tool? It would be way easier, no question about it. But I was kind of in Krita and I was having fun, and so what the heck, rock and roll. All right, so I'm going to take this and I am going to use these keys. So now I'm going to take all these keys and copy them down here. And with that, I'm going to delete this layer, turn Mel back on, and hopefully we're not going to bump into some unexpected glitches. Okay, it worked, Okay, so now what we need to do is look at Tianara's keys and her second. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually grab these three and let's just move them way downstream. Then this one, I'm thinking I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to have actually her eyes darting a bit as well. Alright. Now, once this all happens, she follows him with her eyes. And this final expression comes afterwards, is actually after it cuts to the next shot. So let's see what we have here. Okay, unfortunately, this really doesn't work, and it's just a distraction, so. So in all reality, this should all go. Reason being, it's a cartoon. We want our attention to be on Mel. If her eyes are moving and his eyes are moving, aren't they kind of fighting each other? Like, who are you supposed to look at? I don't want there to be any doubt who we're supposed to look at. So with that in mind, here's another thing we're going to do. This is what I was talking about earlier about not using filter masks if you can avoid it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this Tianara, we'll call it Tianara flat group. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply a filter that's going to allow us to keep the focus of attention on Mel more easily. The way we're going to do it is we're just going to insert a layer, and then we're going to hit tab, or I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I want to say that ever since I installed Krita 4.3 and then completely uninstalled it because it was such a debacle, there's so many things wrong with it I can't even begin to tell you. Now I can keep resetting the hotkey for isolate layer, and Krita keeps forgetting the hotkey. Like that hotkey of tilde for that has worked flawlessly for a long time. Let's just put it that way. Okay, I'm going to do the fill tool. We're going to take the advanced color selector. We're going to add a really dark nighttime kind of kind of thing like that. And then we're also going to turn on inherit alpha. And by turning on inherit alpha, what that means is it only applies to TNR. Now we're going to, finally we get to use overlay mode, and it'll actually make sense to do so. Okay. Now let's try, I hate to say it, but I'm going to try multiply and see what that feels like. Multiply is better. Doesn't change the chromaticity as much. So now, I mean, you look at the difference in terms of a composition. Who am I supposed to look at? You know, you're going to probably look at Mel. But now there's no doubt who you're supposed to look at. Okay, so, you know, again, this is where working in Krita is a little bit of a mistake because we don't really have a good ability to do simple transformations. So at this point, now that we're at the animation stage, I am kind of regretting that a little bit, but it's okay. We're still in the zone. Let's look at the whole bloody thing and see how it plays. We'll go to full size, full screen mode, rewind. I like it. It looks pretty good. That's funny. All right, I'm going to change the length of the shot to 180 frames. And I'm going to watch it one more time, and then I'd say we're done. So let's save our work. But again, like I said, if you stick with just layers, Krita does not tend to blow up that much. Okay, the only thing I'm having an issue with would be, I think this change in expression is happening too quick. Okay, not bad. And amazingly, we've got to increase the length of the whole shot to 200 frames. So we're almost to a 10-second shot. That's amazing. Okay. And I think actually we might just use this shot as is. And then after we come away from the Mel shot of him trying to cross the river, maybe we'll cut to a tighter close-up on TNR. Okay, I think we're done. Everything seems to look good. Everything seems to be working well. Like I said, I'm not trying to be an OpenTunes hater. Today I've just been doing a little bit of blocking stuff in and Krita. And truth be told, I had a pretty negative experience yesterday with the tunes vector levels. Not going to recap it here, but the issues are plentiful. At least for a project like this, for sure. Okay, that's it. We are done with this shot, and as you guys know, there will be more.